Very disappointing season, obviously, for America's team. Their second straight losing campaign. They had the worst defense in the entire NFL. However, the Cowboys have 2 picks in the first round of the 2026 NFL Draft, 12th and 20th. Can the 2026 draft turn the Cowboys back into contenders immediately?
No doubt. Honestly, they're a team I'd be betting on to do just that because they've laid a great foundation, which I think is what you need to be able to make a turnaround like this. But in order to make it happen, they've got to do something they haven't done all that well in the draft the last few years. They've routinely focused on the offensive line. All the Tylers that they've drafted the last 3 or 4 years. Even like Cooper Beebe was the guy they took later in the draft that has really worked out, and it allowed them to have Tyler Biadasz walk away and just replace him with someone internally on that cheaper deal. Like Connor McGovern and Connor Williams are guys that are long gone, but like again, this is years and years of executing at a really high level when drafting at the offensive line position. But outside of Micah Parsons, the edge and D-tackle, they haven't done quite as well, like Neville Gallimore, Golston, Odigzua. Yeah, Sam. Yeah, I was going to mention Mozzie Smith, Sam Williams, Marshawn Nealon. Like they haven't really hit on defense and especially on the defensive line. So that's where things are going to need to come together if they're going to make that happen. But my question would be to you guys is that where they're going to focus, or do they feel like they've completed that area of the defense via free agency and Rashawn Gary? Who am I forgetting now on the other side? Quinn Williams, Kenny Clark. Like, is their focus going to be? Should their focus be all DBs in the first round, or should they be looking to add? I would want to add another edge rusher.
Yeah, so we'll get to my 7-round mock draft for the Cowboys at the end here, but I think that the focus for multiple rounds should be all defense because I love everything they were doing on offense. I mean, you could mix in a receiver or if you're greedy, a swing tackle at some point. But to me, it's you got to get the defense right. And, I don't hate some of the moves that they did this offseason. Rashawn Gary is fine. I don't think you need to trade for him. They probably would have got cut.
Yeah.
But Jalen Thompson, good addition. But losing Osa Odigizua leaves some, a bit of a hole in the pass rush there. So I would love for them to just go hard on defense for like 4 straight picks right off the draft.
The change that happened in that team when they got Quinnen Williams halfway through the year was drastic. They looked like a really good football team before the wheels kind of came off at the end of the year. The thing about the Cowboys is if they weren't the Cowboys, everybody would be stoked on this team. When you see a team with a great offensive line, a great running back, 2 of the best receivers in the NFL, and I will always, to my dying day, be a Dak Prescott guy. I always will believe in him. What they did, getting Quinnen Williams, getting Rashawn Gary, if they actually went into this draft and if they go into this draft and in the first round draft 2 solid everyday starters who start 16 games for them, they should be competing to represent the NFC in the Super Bowl. The problem is they are the Cowboys. That's what the issue is. At any moment, Jerry Jones could do like Yosemite Sam, just like shooting off the dual wheel pistols and be like, we're taking Malachi Lemon and Ty Simpson in the first round. You know what I mean? Like it's all on the table. So it's like, if they do what they need to do, then they should be very good. It's just a matter of will they do what they need to do.
I guess I even mentioned like linebackers, probably another spot. You know who would be like a great fit for them? I know Dan will get more into what he is projecting, but like C.J. Allen, we hear so much about him being a green dot guy at Georgia, a guy that everything they tell you is like he was calling plays a lot of the time for their defense. They definitely need someone in the middle of the defense that can carry things for them at linebacker to help their run defense. He would be someone that would probably be. Is he someone that could be available on their second pick?
Yeah, that would be more likely second pick.
Yeah, at 20, right?
That's what they need to do defensively is not go sexy. And they're really good at they're really good at sexy picks in the first round, actually. They're really good at that. When they see a Micah Parsons, when they see a CeeDee Lamb, when they see an Ezekiel Elliott, they're able to recognize like, I can see that guy wearing the star, making huge plays, but they're unable to identify guys that can be the meat and potatoes of the defense.
It could be sexy if we did our mock. You can watch the video to see if he falls there, but who could get to 12? Almost got to 12 in our mock. Caleb Downs.
Oh, that would
got to 12.
It would be.
You can picture him in the star.
It would be very dumb if he slid that far, but you can't rule it out because teams just hate on safeties for some reason.
Yeah.
So
Again,
Kyle Hamilton went at number 14. So.
Yeah, that's true. And Kyle Hamilton was talked about not quite to the level of Caleb Downs in terms of like the high school prospect he was, but I mean, people loved his talent, and you were right, he fell.
So
well, let's see what Wilkie got.
Yeah, so I'm with you. I think that Caleb Downs would be a dream pick at number 12 for them, but when I did my 7-round mock here that we'll throw up on the screen, Caleb Downs was not available. But I did go with the safety anyway because I think Dylan Thieneman is pretty close, not quite on the same level as Caleb Downs for me, but he's a different player, insane athlete, the kind of guy who you can put in the deep middle and just have range for days over the top. I think he could also rotate down and play in the slot if you needed to him. But I think for me, they've had those coverage issues on the back end. I would love to just put him back there and patrol center field.
Yeah.
Their second first-round pick at number 20, I've got them taking Keldrick Falk. I've been mocking him to the Cowboys, whether it's at 12 or 20, pretty much the entire offseason. And if you're wondering if I'm ever going to stop, the answer is no. I love this fit for them. I know some people aren't super high on Falk because he doesn't have the most pass rush upside. But for me, Jerry Jones has always talked about defending the run, how the issues they've had. He kind of tried to justify the Micah Parsons trade about run defense. That was dumb because Micah Parsons is a good run defender. But he's obsessed with defending the run, as he should be in this era of the NFL.
Yep.
Keldrick Falk is an elite run defender on the edge, and I think that his athleticism, which is pretty incredible for his size, will actually play up if he were to rotate inside on passing downs. So you could be looking at like a passing down defensive line package of Donovan Azaraku and Rashawn Gary on the outside, and then Keldrick Falk and Quinnen Williams on the inside. I think that's a great way to fix their pass rush issues.
The one thing that I think is super key for Cowboys fans that are watching or anyone interested in what the Cowboys can do is that they don't pick again from after these two until late in the third.
Yes.
Like, there's really not the affordability to do the sexy thing Zach's talking about. Like, we really need to address these couple of holes defensively.
Yeah.
And then, whatever happens next, maybe they hit the lottery with one of these guys deeper in the draft. But there's no luxury here. We need these first two picks to hit.
Gotta hit
that next level.
And like I said, I want them to keep sticking with defense even beyond their two first-round picks. So in the third round, I've got them taking Chandler Rivers, the cornerback out of Duke. Little undersized, but he certainly doesn't play like it. He's a solid run defender, and he could be a really good cover man out of the slot. And crucially, if you go back earlier this offseason, Jerry Jones basically admitted that he never should have let Jordan Lewis go last offseason. He knows the slot defender is a huge need for this defense. So I think that adding Thieneman over the top as the safety and Chandler Rivers out of the slot would be huge for the secondary. Again, the further you get down, the more these are just depth pieces, but I actually do really like Keyshawn Elliott as a mid-round linebacker. I think his instincts in the run game are great. Probably needs a little time to develop as a coverage linebacker, but I think he could be a nice tandem piece for DeMarvion Overshown. Albert Regis just as another depth piece on the inside. Again, they traded away Osa Digizua, so it's kind of just Quinnen Williams and Kenny Clark there now. Having another depth piece there would be huge. Diego Pounds is kind of an interesting mid-round sleeper at tackle. I think that this is the type of guy that you could kind of justify going back over the offensive side. They do need depth at tackle, potentially some future competition at right tackle for Terrence Steele. I think Pounds is the kind of guy who could provide that. And Jimmy Rolder, another guy that you'd be taking a shot on as a depth piece at linebacker. I think he's got some upside there, even though he didn't have much experience at Michigan. And Caleb Douglas just adding another receiver on the outside, another big body guy who can run, just some depth for maybe the kind of guy you could develop and have replaced George Pickens if he moves on after this year. But either way, those later guys are mostly going to be depth. But for me, the big thing is at the top, just hammer defense and get this team back in a position where you're playing even league average defense. If we get the same offense that we got last year from the Cowboys, I think you're looking at a team that can contend in the NFC for sure.
I think the thing I think about is if they don't hit on Thieneman and Falk or like if let's just say those first two picks, it just feels so weird, the Quinnen Williams trade of dealing Parsons, getting picks back, and then trading for Williams and giving picks up. It's like if this doesn't work out well this year, it's just going to feel really, really silly the way the last 365 days will have gone for the Cowboys.
That's the kind of this process is like we go through this mock draft and if they do this, I'll be very excited. But it's kind of like we're doing a mock draft. Like, what if a volcano doesn't erupt? You know what I mean? It's
there's a lot of pressure on them to nail this one. Like it has to be now.
Less pressure when the owner is the GM, though, if we're being honest.
Yeah, it's true. He's not going to fire himself.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. I mean, look, if they manage to improve their defense to a league average point, I think they can win the NFC East.
Hell yeah.
Right?
Hell yeah.
And then maybe get back to the NFC Championship game.
Tell you what, if they do this exact draft, at least in the first 4 rounds, I'll pick them to win the NFC East.
There you go.
You heard it here first.